You wake up, look in the mirror, and no matter what you do, the gym, the salads, the cutting back on dessert, that stubborn belly fat just will not move. And here's the thing, most people never figure out. It might have absolutely nothing to do with calories. There's one hormone quietly working against you behind the scenes. And today, we're going to expose exactly what it is, why it's doing this to your body, and most importantly, what you can actually do about it. Stick around because by the end of this video, you're going to understand your own body in a completely different way. And that shift in understanding, that's what actually creates real, lasting change. Let's talk about cortisol. Cortisol is your body's primary stress hormone. It's produced by your adrenal glands, and it's been part of human biology for tens of thousands of years. Back when your ancestors were running from predators, cortisol was a lifesaver. It triggered a surge of energy, sharpened focus, and prepared the body to either fight or flee. Once the threat passed, cortisol levels dropped and everything returned to normal. The problem? Your body cannot tell the difference between running from a lion and sitting in traffic, dreading a work email, or scrolling through a stressful news feed at midnight. To your nervous system, stress is stress. And in the modern world, that stress never fully goes away. So cortisol stays elevated, day after day, week after week. And that's when the real damage starts. Here's where it gets fascinating and honestly a little frustrating. When cortisol remains chronically high, it directly tells your body to store fat, specifically visceral fat. That's the deep abdominal fat that sits around your organs and shows up as that stubborn belly pouch that refuses to budge no matter how many crunches you do. Why the belly specifically? This is one of the most important things to understand. Visceral fat tissue actually has a higher concentration of cortisol receptors compared to fat in other parts of your body. So when cortisol spikes, belly fat cells are essentially sitting there with their hands raised, ready to receive and store. It's a biological targeting system, and it's targeting your midsection. But it doesn't stop there. Chronically elevated cortisol also increases your appetite, particularly for high-calorie, high-sugar, high-fat foods. Think about the last time you were extremely stressed. Were you craving a salad? Probably not. You wanted comfort food, something dense, something satisfying. That craving is not a character flaw. That's cortisol manipulating your hunger signals and your brain's reward pathways simultaneously. On top of that, cortisol raises blood sugar levels. It does this because in an emergency, your body needs quick fuel. But when there's no actual physical emergency, that elevated blood sugar triggers insulin release. Insulin's job is to take that sugar and store it. And if your cells are already full, it gets stored as fat. This is the vicious cycle that so many people are trapped in without even knowing it. High stress leads to high cortisol. High cortisol raises blood sugar. Elevated blood sugar triggers insulin. Insulin stores fat. And because cortisol also disrupts sleep, you wake up tired, which makes the stress worse, which keeps cortisol elevated, and the whole wheel keeps spinning. Sleep is actually a massive piece of this puzzle that doesn't get talked about enough. When you're sleep deprived, your cortisol levels the following day are measurably higher. At the same time, poor sleep increases ghrelin, your hunger hormone, while decreasing leptin, the hormone that signals fullness. So you're hungrier, less satisfied by food, your body is primed to store fat, and your stress response is already in overdrive. All before you've even had breakfast. Now here's where a lot of fitness advice completely misses the mark. People dealing with high cortisol are often told to just work out harder, push through, more cardio, more intensity. And while exercise is genuinely beneficial, the wrong type of exercise at the wrong intensity for someone with chronically elevated cortisol can actually make things worse. Long, grueling cardio sessions are themselves a physiological stressor. They spike cortisol further. If you've ever noticed that you're training consistently, but your belly fat seems to stick around or even increase, this could be exactly why. So what actually works? The first thing you need to do is address the cortisol directly, not just the calories on your plate. That means taking stress management out of the nice-to-have category and treating it like medicine. Practices like deep breathing, meditation, and even short walks in nature have been shown in research to measurably lower cortisol levels. This isn't soft advice. This is physiology. When it comes to exercise, strength training, and moderate intensity movement tend to be far more effective for people with elevated cortisol compared to long bouts of intense cardio. Building muscle improves insulin sensitivity, and shorter, more focused workouts don't create the same cortisol surge that extended endurance sessions can. Sleep needs to become a non-negotiable priority. Aim for 7 to 9 hours consistently. Keep your sleep schedule regular, even on weekends. Lower the temperature in your room, cut out screens an hour before bed, and consider that poor sleep might be the single biggest hidden driver of your belly fat that no diet can fix. Diet does matter here too, but the approach needs to be cortisol aware. Spiking and crashing your blood sugar throughout the day keeps your stress response activated. Eating balanced meals that include protein, healthy fat, and fiber at regular intervals helps stabilize blood sugar and takes pressure off your cortisol system. Reducing alcohol is also significant, as alcohol disrupts sleep quality and directly elevates cortisol the next day. There's also something worth mentioning about caffeine. If you're someone who runs on coffee from the moment your eyes open, often skipping meals, often undereating because you're busy, and relying on stimulants to push through the day, you are essentially living in a cortisol feedback loop. Caffeine stimulates cortisol release. For people who are already chronically stressed, that early morning spike might be doing more harm than you'd expect. Let's also talk about something that doesn't get addressed often enough: emotional and psychological load. Relationship stress, financial anxiety, unresolved grief, loneliness, the constant pressure of modern productivity culture. These all contribute to chronic cortisol elevation just as much as physical stressors do. Your body doesn't compartmentalize your life the way your mind tries to. It all registers as the same signal: threat, danger, stay alert, store energy, hold on to fat. This is why people can do everything right on paper and still struggle, because they haven't addressed what's happening beneath the surface. The fascinating and actually hopeful part of all this is that cortisol is highly responsive to lifestyle intervention. Unlike some hormonal issues that require medication or years of treatment, cortisol can shift relatively quickly when you make the right changes consistently. People who prioritize sleep, reduce chronic stressors, adjust their exercise approach, and eat in a way that supports blood sugar stability often start noticing changes in their body composition within weeks. Not just aesthetically, but in how they feel. Energy improves. Mood stabilizes. Cravings become more manageable. And that belly fat that seemed impossibly stubborn, it starts to respond. The body was never working against you. It was doing exactly what it was designed to do under the conditions you were giving it. Change the conditions, and the body changes with them. So If you've been frustrated by slow progress despite genuine effort, I want you to consider the possibility that you haven't been failing your diet or your workout plan. You've been dealing with a hormonal environment that made success nearly impossible. And now you know what to do about it. If this video gave you a new perspective, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Drop a comment below telling me what part surprised you most, and if you want to go deeper on exactly how to reset your hormones through daily habits, hit subscribe because that content is coming. Your body is capable of far more than you've seen yet.